needed to come up with a topic, I decided to become inspired by my topic. And funny enough, the topic became inspiration and motivation, just what Wendy had said. Today I will talk with you about the difference of inspiration versus motivation. Did you know that inspiration is something that comes from within you, and motivation is something that is actually the motive from outside of you? Inspiration is divine guidance, where motivation is something that you're chasing. Have you ever felt that? I remember thinking to myself a few years back, Matthew McConaughey said something in his speech at the Oscars that we should always have something to chase. And at that time, it really was very profound for me, and I really loved hearing that piece of wisdom. And yet, as I continued to go and chase, I realized that I started to become exhausted and somewhat resentful at times. And I thought, for me, chasing is just not going to be the thing. I am somebody that wants to be inspired. And in doing my research and learning about the difference of inspiration versus motivation, that's exactly true. Inspiration actually gives you energy, where motivation actually takes energy. It's a system for you to use to follow through with your inspiration, but motivation ultimately has to be something that continues to be re-engaged. It's a fleeting something, whereas inspiration is something that is a long-term source of energy and support for you. Inspiration is from the soul, where motivation can become from ego. And when I thought about that chasing concept, that's really what it was for me. I used to have the favorite quote of, where there is a will, there is a way. And I love this quote. It got me through my 20s, and it got a lot of things accomplished for me. But that's just it. Accomplishment can be addictive, and that doesn't always mean good. It becomes my will versus God's will. And at that point, that's when I realized this wasn't always fulfilling. Inspiration is fulfilling, where motivation isn't always guaranteed a fulfillment. You'll get to a finish line, but there's no promise that when you get to that finish line that you actually feel good and filled up by that. So inspiration is the direction that you're going, where motivation is I should do this. It's something that I'm going to compete for. It's something that I'm going to have action and that's going to push me to accomplish, where inspiration is going to pull me to want to go to this direction. Inspiration is gentle. It's quiet. It's peaceful. It's not aggressive. It's not, I have to do this. Where there's a will, there is a way, which can be fun at times. However, again, for the long term, that's not always going to be something that's going to generate energy for me. Inspiration's a noun, where motivation is actually an adjective. Motivation describes what the noun is, or it gives us the ability to complete the noun. Overall, a really good example of this would be running. I love running. Motivation is me signing up for my 5K race, where inspiration is knowing that when I run, I feel more connected to life. And that is what will always generate the sense of connectedness for me. Motivation is the how, but inspiration is my what. So interestingly enough, we can all be motivated to do a lot of things. We can say, oh, I should meet these goals this quarter for sales, or I should go here. But when you really can define your what, and you think of it not as a should, but as a could, and as a, I wonder what this would look like and feel like, or I know what this feels like, wow. That's when the game changes. See some heads nodding. So I know that you've experienced this too. Because we can do a lot with our own personal will, especially if we're energized people, but you start to get to this point, at least I did, where I realized that that wasn't filling my cup as genuinely anymore. Motivation can compel us to act, where inspiration, by definition of Jessica Stickle on my website, is something that will activate your passion, your possibility, and the positive energy that already exists within you. An example of this, I had a roommate, well actually it was my husband's roommate a few years ago. Hilarious. This gentleman on a work day would literally push his snooze button 4 times. He really needed an attitude adjustment from this. He would finally roll out of bed, clothes wrinkled. He was a physical therapist and he worked with my husband. And he would literally give himself 5 minutes to get out the door. He'd muster up, he'd have his cap on, he'd pour some cereal. Just not a lot of zest going on there. Now, interesting enough, he went on this trip with my husband to Belize to do mission work. And he said that he was up every day before any of the people were up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, 6 a.m. Here we go, let's help people. So it wasn't so much that the physical therapy wasn't working for him, it was just maybe the location or the environment in which he was doing it. My husband laughs. He says, you know, sometimes you can't always be inspired all the time, Jess. You know, some people have to work, some people have to grind. Well, I say this. Happiness can be the way, it doesn't have to be the destination. Our joke between each other is he says, you know, if it wasn't for me, you'd be living in a van down by the river. And I'll say, well, you know, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even see the river. I just want to tell you today, find that light that's within you and that helps you shine. And I want you to take that light and I want you to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Motivation is when you get a hold of an idea and carry it through to its conclusion. Inspiration is when an idea gets a hold of you and carries to you where you are intended to go. Thank you. Great.